Aussie truck drivers threaten blockade over mandatory jab. Who here knows about this? I have to say, these blokes speaking up are absolute legends and represent what our country is about. That's right. Australian truck drivers, many of them actually speaking up and making videos to express their opposition to the prospect of mandatory vaccinations. Now, many truck drivers have accepted the regular COVID testing. Many are not happy about it, but they've played by the rules. They've done it so they could keep their job. But now the prospect of mandatory vaccinations, many of them are saying no. There was a survey published not all that long ago in the Big Rig magazine, 1,200 respondents, showing that 59% of them said that they're not keen for mandatory vaccinations or not really keen in the COVID jab at all. That's right, we covered that on MCJ report. So what are they saying? How come they've got a problem with this? And why do they have so much power? Well, ladies and gentlemen, truck drivers hold all the power in this country. Without truck drivers, Australia stops. Simple as that. No more exports, right? So the mining industry could be completely stuffed, and Twiggy Forrest, I'm sure, would not be very happy should there be a truck blockade over in Western Australia, and I'm sure his buddies at the Chinese Communist Party, they wouldn't be very happy as well. But what else does it mean? It means food supplies. It means food cannot arrive at supermarkets and petrol cannot arrive at petrol stations, and it's concerning to think what that would look like. But ladies and gentlemen, we are in extraordinary times right now, and truck drivers throughout history, not just in Australia, when they want to get something done, they tend to have a history of getting things done. Anyway, I'm going to show you a little compilation clip right here of some Aussie truck drivers who have gotten their phones out and are making their voices known.
60 seconds to have a little yarn about my post there the other night about blockades and trucks pulling up. So it would work, it would stop Australia. We all know that. If you don't think that, you're in denial. It would have to be hundreds of trucks because they would come straight out to move everything. So it'd have to be lots of trucks, at least enough to make 2 weeks worth to move it. We'd all get fines. That's cool. I'm happy with that. It would have to be every fucking state, not just one or two. It would have to be every state or it's not going to work. But I'm for it. If we're keen to do it, I'm for it. So this video is about support, how much of the public supports us. I had a fair few people from the public saying they'd support it. How many truck drivers would actually stop? If we block the road, nobody can get through, so everyone would have to stop. So I understand it would work, but how much support have we got? Stitch, share, let's see.
We run this country, we the people, and I'm a truck driver. We as truckies, we will block all your highways, we'll block all your ports, and we'll even stop what we need to stop. There is nothing you will be able to do. You back off, these are our roads, this is our country, and we will run it how we want to run it.
Yeah, how long before, we just got miles and miles of trucks just fucking parked up on the highways and just turn around and go home. Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, I'll be one of them.
At the end of the day, man, enough's enough. Fuck her. Block the highway, man. Park her up. See how good Queensland goes with no freight going in and out.
Yeah. It's on. Support to watch this video and let everyone in Australia know that the truckies are going to shut down the country.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think? To me, it sounds like these men absolutely mean business. Now, these are just a few, but make no mistake about it, these men speak on behalf of many. So I started thinking to myself, I thought, well, I'd like to know more about this, what potentially could happen. And I thought, I really wish that I knew a truck driver. And then I realized I absolutely do. Guess what? Sydney George, our New South Wales correspondent, a truck driver of over 20 years. So I jumped on the phone to Sydney George. We got him on the line and we had a bit of a chat about it, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to bring Sydney George on just for a couple of minutes right now and you'll see what he had to say. All right, we've got Sydney George with us. Now, George, you are a truck driver of 20 plus years. Can you please tell us, what would it look like should truck drivers from across the country create a blockade?
Fuel servos would be lucky to have 3 days supply. That's at a servo. And at a supermarket, they're lucky to have 2 days supply before they're laid bare, Morgan.
Just from speaking to people out in the workforce, what is the general idea that you're getting? Do truck drivers in general, based on people you've spoken to, are they welcoming the idea of mandatory vaccinations, or are you hearing something different?
As you can see by the Big Rigs article on August the 3rd, 59% of truck drivers said they're not interested in taking the jab because they got no confidence.
All right, George, now before we wrap it up for today, is there anything else you'd like to talk about regarding this matter?
In my personal belief, I reckon this will be owner drivers doing it or small companies. It won't be the big fleet companies. You won't see them being involved because the big retail giants will hold them accountable if they did do a blockade. But if they do it, either they'll do a blockade on the major roads and the artilleries, or they'll do it at Parliament House. Nobody knows, Morgan. This is a lot of speculation on the internet, so I can't give you an honest answer what's going to happen. My personal belief, they might go to the federal parliament or state parliament. That's my belief.
Interesting. All right, well, I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. Sydney George, I'll let you get back to your father duties. Thank you for your time, and we'll have you back on the show really soon, brother.
No, cheers, mate. It's just not easy being a house husband at times while the wife's at work, but all good, mate. And thank you to
You're
our
doing an awesome job, my
MC
friend. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, cheers, mate.
See you, mate. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Sydney George, our New South Wales correspondent. Anyway, let's keep this moving here. Let's have a look at the browser and see what they're saying over in the mainstream media. So look at this. Even the Daily Mail's reporting on it. They call them rogue truckies. Well, are they really rogue, or are they part of a bigger, broader community? I mean, I think that maybe rogue, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, the Daily Mail is trying to downplay the seriousness of the words of these men. What do you think? It says they vow to block every major highway into every state during radical anti-lockdown strike. Is it really radical, or is it simply just a matter of workers standing up for their rights to bodily integrity, making their own decisions, deciding whether or not they would like to participate in what the Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt referred to as the world's largest clinical trial? That's right, he said that, never forget.
The world is engaged in the largest clinical trial, the largest global vaccination trial ever.
It's kind of hard, isn't it? If the health minister can use that type of language and then everybody's expected to just, bend at the knee, it's really beggars belief, doesn't it? All right, so we see, as you go, we saw this bloke before. He's been featured in the media. We got the Australian covering it as well. Police aware of rogue truckies. I don't think they're rogue, though. I actually think they make up a very decent part of the truckie population in our country. As correctly stated by George before, there was a survey held by the Big Rig magazine, which out of 1,200 survey respondents, 59% of them said they weren't keen on the jab. So does that sound like some sort of like rogue movement, or does that sound like, a figure that's more than half, 59%? So even news.com.au is talking about it here. So all the mainstream media are covering it and giving the truckers' blockade great exposure, aren't they? They're doing some great promotion. So here's an interesting story that Sydney George told me about. Look at this, from the archives, 1979. I never knew about this story. Who here knows about this? Who knows about this? Defiance still on Razorback. Midway through a 9-day blockade by truck drivers around Australia demanding the abolition of road taxes, our reporter met the revolutionary truckies of Razorback Mountain. Who here knows this story? Put your hands up. 1979, that's right. So what happened? What happened in 1979? How come they decided to stop? Look at this. I'm going to read to you a little bit here because you know what I say. Just like the tale of Pig Iron Bob, I say that the blockades that were held in 1979, they can happen again, right? They can happen again. We know that amazing things happen when workers stand up for the betterment of the entire nation. I trust the truck drivers of Australia to do the right thing more so than the politicians. But that's not hard, actually. I mean, we don't really expect the politicians to get much right. All right, so it says here, truckies blockading Sydney and other major cities last night said they would stay put despite state government plans to drop road maintenance taxes from July 1st. All right, sounds pretty fair enough. From Razorback Mountain outside Sydney, spokesman for the blockading truckies, Ted Stevens, said the blockades would continue until all drivers' demands were met. Okay, liking the strong language. And as you can see here, 1979 got a protest going on, a megaphone, and not much has changed today, right, ladies and gentlemen? All right, goes on to say, this could mean that Sydney will face serious food shortages this week. Industries could be brought to a standstill as tens of thousands of workers are stood down. Supermarkets warn that fresh fruit and vegetables are likely to be in scarce supply and that many stores might have to start closing down by the middle of the week. Okay, so yeah, they mean business. Earlier, a meeting of federal and state transport ministers agreed to a number of truckies' demands. All right, so as you can see, this movement right here brought the government to their knees. All right, I'm going to keep reading along here. As well as dropping road maintenance taxes, the ministers agreed to lift the maximum load of a truck can carry to confer with companies in a bid to help drivers fix a higher freight rate. All right, so a lot of it was about rates and pay, but they got what they wanted. The reporter at the time said the, quote, revolutionary truckies of Razorback Mountain are expecting crowds of sightseers to drift into their makeshift camp today. Some of the visitors, they hope, will take food and money, which the blockading truck drivers need. All right, so there's a question for you at home. If there was a blockade and a makeshift camp, would you volunteer your time to bring food, water, and supplies to the truck drivers on strike? Who here would participate in something like that? Here's an interesting image. There's a 1979 police vehicle, clearly not capable of doing anything at all. You got a kilometre of trucks backed up. I mean, you're not moving them. They're there. They can't go anywhere. So just going to read a little bit more. Here's an interesting thing about the makeshift camp. No alcohol. They said, having seized vulnerable part of Australia's busiest highway, the truckies are acting with near restraint. Alcohol is forbidden in the camp by common agreement, so their cause will not be tarnished by misbehaviour. So there's a historic photo right there, 1979. Truck drivers blockade the Hume Highway at Razorback Mountain, New South Wales, 4th of April 1979. What do you think about that image, ladies and gentlemen? Would you like to see an image like that from 2021? Put that in the comments. All right, let's see. There's another historic photo right there. Alrighty, so let's keep this show rolling along, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Put your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Would you like to see a blockade? Are you concerned about food shortages, or are you more concerned about the looming prospect of mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations for not just truck drivers, but for perhaps many other industries? Put your thoughts in the comments. Now, if this is serious and if this is legitimate, and I don't know if it is, it seems like there's a fair bit of talk going on, but this is something that might not happen. But if it does, then you might want to stock up on food, okay? Just putting it out there. Not trying to fearmonger, just trying to look at the situation and say, well, hey, it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. Is that fair enough? All right.